Never in my mind I thought a controller would be this bad in 2022 and 2023. What can go wrong when you buy a controller, a cheap controller? Well, the easy answer is it's not good enough. So a couple of weeks ago, I bought Machenike H510 wireless controller. I don't know if I even said the brand names correctly, but that's the pronunciation that I've decided. To start with, if you are from America, because a lot of my viewer is from there, I don't think it is available. But you may found this controller in Asia market. However, this controller is a good representation for consumer not to just buy stuff based on brand and marketplace review like Amazon or Lazada. The best way to buy a controller is to go out to the shop and try it by yourself. Although most of the shop don't put controller on display for consumer to test out. This controller was originally priced at around 40 to 50 US dollar. However, I managed to get it at around 30 US dollar due to monthly sales, give or take the currency exchange. The version that I used for this review is their top of the line controller, the best of the best. To start with, what is Machenike brand? Machenike is a sub-brand of AliBaba Group. Yes, that's Alibaba trading website. If you are aware, Alibaba Group gets into everything: finance, trading, game industry, and now it has been a while for them tapping into the gaming peripheral and PC business. They sell keyboard, mouse, laptop, literally almost all gaming peripheral. In game industry, they sort of want to become like Razer. Their product lineup is quite similar too. For the controller, let's start with their advert. It's bonkers. Quality guarantee, hardcore equipment, 360-degree shaking, crisp feel, sensitive induction, service life 500 watt times, macro definition. Whoever created this advert clearly don't use a controller or play games at all. If you go to their global website, look inside the manual. There is one particular specification that really concerned me about their bad advertisement. It is stated that the controller is having a Hall sensor joystick. The only modern controller that I know is having a Hall sensor joystick is gulikit and 8-bit do ultimate. Plus, elves don't make Hall sensor joystick. Just to remind you that this document was taken at their official website. Anyway, people make mistakes. As a kind man I am, I just let it go. Or not. So, the controller came in a small packaging box. To be honest, very decent. Although inside still packed with plastic. They give you a manual, USB-C cable, information card and controller itself. Not too shabby, but I prefer if they just use only paper for packaging because the plastic will end up in landfill. The controller aesthetic was quite interesting because it feels like it was designed by 5 years old kids. It has blue light which can be turned off to reduce your FPS. You can control the strength of the vibration too using the function button. The center light also acts as a battery indicator when playing. Surface texture is more similar to DualSense texture. It also has textured grip at the bottom, but the grip size is small to my hand. Although it follows the shape of Switch Pro at the front, the deep curve on the grip made the controller feel smaller to hold than many other controllers that I have. Opening this controller was quite easy, although the serial number behind it can be wiped out by your own hand without any effort at all. The construction is quite simple with very few screws holding it for only two boards. You can see it actually used Kyle's micro switch with the silicon act as the spring. The ABXY button feels better than my Xiaomi Elite Pro. I just can't stand how stiff the button on Xiaomi, but on this controller, it feels easier to press. The silicone they use give enough distance for your fingers to press. However, not everything is good. The B button is atrociously annoying because they make the button high to follow the curvature. The B button is actually nearly flush into the body when I press. What happened is, during bottom down, I cannot feel if the key was pressed or not. You don't use the end of your thumb to press B button, but middle of the thumb. Flush button will hurt your fingers very quickly. To make matter worse, this Kyle mechanical micro switch cannot provide enough tactile feedback and travel distance unlike rubber dome and gulikit hybrid switch. It just created the sounds, yet when we play a game on headphone, nobody gonna hear it. When combined with the thick silicone acting as a spring, it provides a mushy feeling even before the switch was pressed. To counter the flush button, I need to put silicone tape on top of the key to give it an extra height. Otherwise, my fingers gonna hurt playing Abyss in Genshin Impact. Gulikit use hybrid switch. It use a real spring. It's not the best controller switch at the moment because you might need to modify it, but it feels a lot better than the mushy feeling of the silicone. Even regular rubber dome feel less mushy than this controller. The ALPS joystick has an outer ring giving a smooth rotation, not as slicky smooth as Xiaomi or DualSense, but better than gulikit. The joystick has a short shaft, almost similar to 8-bit 2 Pro 2 controller. However, the top feels plasticky and slippery. The joystick does have the feeling of typical ALPS joystick. However, upon checking, this controller was not calibrated at all. Or perhaps the quality is just bad from the start. The right joystick was clearly not centered and the depth zone of the controller is so big. If you use gamepad tester to check the security, they use the similar method done by gulikit tricking the PC on the security. Upon checking with their own software, it can be said that this joystick security is crazy bad. The trigger of this controller is wide. At first try it was great, but it's too flat to the point you feel more comfortable to press from the front. The trigger also very light and the lightest among other controllers that I've ever felt. Inside, you can see that the controller uses potentiometer as the switch. Many other controller has moved to Hall sensor trigger that provide more spaces and easier maintenance. I find it odd for anyone to release controller with potentiometer on their trigger in 2022. The controller also has a short trigger length and vertical height also a millimeter short than Xbox. And this 1mm short can make or break this controller design. For the bumper, they use silicone rubber dome as the switch. The trigger probably the worst thing about this controller. It curves upwards. It is so uncomfortable. When you try to move your pointing fingers to ABXY button, the curve disturbs your movement. The curve also limits the way you hold the controller. If you are two fingers user, there is not enough spot for two fingers. Combining with the short trigger, I cannot find a comfortable spot to rest my fingers. If you are using claw grip, it is even worse. The curve disturbs your movement and the mechanical switch combining with mushy silicone will hurt your finger even more. It only good with palm grip player, but many competitive players, especially FPS people, use claw grip. Hence, Machenike miss on a bigger fish over here. Vibration on this controller, the vibration of this controller feels like my 7 years Xbox controller. This gulikit controller released in 2022. And this Machenike HG510. And this is my 7 years Xbox controller. I don't know what to comment at this point. Macro button. This is probably another thing that I hate about this controller. From what I know, the older version of Machenike controller placed the macro buttons at the bottom. Somehow, this dude think it was a brilliant idea to put only two macro buttons at the front. To be honest, it's not a big deal. Razer put macro button at the front. FlyDigi also has macro button at the front. The worst of the worst is their macro button placement was far. It has a gap from the trigger, hence I barely touch it with the tip of my fingers. Most of the time, I map L3 and R3 to macro buttons, and in Apex Legend or Genshin, I use R3 and L3 quite often. Every time I want to press the macro buttons, I need to further extend my fingers and end up disturbing my gameplay. The mapping software of this controller is only accessible on iOS and Android. There is no mapping software on the PC. Keylinker software was actually used by various companies to customize their controller and was developed by a separate company. Since the controller uses Bluetooth 5.0, it can connect to PC and Keylinker software on your phone at the same time. You can remap almost all keys except turbo, function button, and power button. Customize joystick depth zone, customize trigger depth zone, customize vibration strength, and enable turbo. Macro recording can be done up to 42 operations. Press record and you just need to press the button on the controller to record. After that, you just need to manually edit the recorded macro. To be honest, customizing the controller on a small screen like phone is not a pleasant experience, especially customizing sensitivity curve. I have less headache when using the software on a tablet due to bigger screen size. Battery on this controller is 600 mAh, most likely the most expensive component on this controller. Although they claim it lasts 10 hours, I doubt 600 mAh can even last 4 hours when on vibration in game. The software also allows you to customize the wake up time, so hopefully the battery can last a bit longer with that function. Aside all of my complaint on this controller, play rate on this controller was decent. Not really. The latency was between 6 to 7 milliseconds, making it slightly faster than your regular Xbox controller. However, it cannot maintain 90% consistency like Xbox controller. Nearly 20% of the input was skipped, doubling the latency. Hence, on average, it performed as good as Xbox, but looking into detail, it is not. For me, 8 millisecond latency on 125Hz should be the minimum, especially when you play on PC competitively. My gate latency in Apex is 30 to 40 milliseconds. 8 millisecond latency is 20% minimum out of my response. Some people might argue nobody can feel the difference because it's too short. Here's the thing. Network latency and physical distance is something we cannot control. But why limit ourselves to something that we can actually control? Your gear, keyboard, mouse, and controller is something you can control. Those 8 milliseconds can be crucial whenever you are clutching for in-game. Razer going to release Pro controller for PlayStation with their hyperspeed technology. Possibly the first wireless controller with true 1000Hz. And I hope this will start the new trend in creating a fast controller. Conclusion. I don't think $30 worth it for this controller. $20 maybe. There are way better controller in the market for the same price. Number one turn off for me is their ergonomics that only fit palm grips people. Even then, it's still not really great. Sony DualShock 4 and Xbox wireless controller, the older version, perform way better than this controller. If you willing to add $10-20 more, controller like 8-bit Duo Pro 2 still a better choice despite it was a last year product. Pro, nothing. Con, everything. Is there any other controller you'd like me to review? Write it down in the comment and give your thought. If it's available, I will try to get it. So if you like what you saw, please hit like and subscribe because I'm still climbing the 1000 subs, and see ya. Bye.